which is our SMS line, and if you're online, use the hashtag opinion court. That's one word. I'll reintroduce my guests to you. To the far right is Edward Kisiangani. He is our resident political analyst. Next to him is Senator Moses Kajwang of Homa Bay, who is an ODM legislator, and next to me on my left is Richard Onyonka. He's the MP for Kitui Church South and the deputy party leader of Fort Kenya, and you're all welcome to the program. So today, NASA leader Raila Odinga, who is also the ODM party leader, led a meeting of NASA senators and said that the outcome was that in 14 days they would retreat to reconsider the position of Senator Moses Wetangula's leadership in the House. And I want to start with you, Moses. Is there hope for Wetangula in 14 days?
Thank you, Anne. This is not about Moses Wetangula. This is about the Senate. This is a decision that was taken by senators, which is a body established by the Constitution. And I must point out that there is no problem in the Senate. It does not matter what people say out there. What has happened in the Senate is just a change of leadership. And a change of leadership cannot be a problem. And this country, there used to be days when prefects were chosen by teachers and principals. But today, if you go to a primary school in this Republic of Kenya or a secondary school, even those little children who are in school are allowed to choose who their prefects are going to be. And so we as senators, we exercised that, and we have decided that we would wish to reconfigure our leadership, and it is a decision taken by the senators, and it is a decision that has already taken effect.
And so there is absolutely no hope?
Well, a lot of things are possible, but the reality is that right now the minority leader in the Senate is James Aggrey Orengo. For him to be replaced by somebody else, there has to be a vote by the majority of senators forming the minority. Now, it must be made clear that our standing orders do not envisage some other organ sitting outside Parliament and deciding how the leadership shall be treated. It has to be a vote by the majority of members of a coalition. And so if we get to a point where the majority of the minority side believe that we need to change leadership from Senator James Orengo to Moses Kajwang to Moses Wetangula to somebody else, then that can only be taken by the majority of senators. So
this is a done deal to you, Richard. What do you think of that?
Well, and I think for me the argument holds water insofar as if you want NASA to collapse. Number two, the argument holds water if you completely dismiss the agreement which was signed between the NASA principals, because we believe in Fort Kenya, and we need to be corrected on this, that the agreement was signed, agreed upon by the principals, where Raila Odinga would be the torchbearer, Kalonzo will be his deputy, and they have two other principals. For me, the interpretation of this is two-way. You can look at it legally, the way Senator Kajwang has said. Individuals sat, they agreed amongst themselves that my party leader was not substantive enough and he wasn't doing anything. Presumably, that's what he was doing, and therefore they said we are going to kick him out. But our politics is not based on legalese. It is not based on a utopian interpretation of scenarios. It is based on the basic facts which exist, and that is from last year, from 2 years ago, Moses Wetangula, Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka have been with the party leader, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, to support his candidacy, to work with him to make sure that he becomes president of Kenya. The fact that that didn't happen, even when the court proved and confirmed that actually Raila won the elections and therefore the elections were annulled, even when there were issues which have come up and they are outstanding, including the swearing in on and swearing in and the issues which are all of them clouded together, I would pray and ask our brothers in ODM, because the majority of the senators in the minority in the Senate are ODM senators. If the ODM senators have decided that they don't need Wetangula, we will accept that position. But our advice and
NASA will die.
Most probably yes. Most probably yes. Or NASA would not actually have the same clout, the same brotherliness that it had. And you see, Anne, this happens everywhere in Africa. Every time the opposition has reached a certain point in the fight for power in terms of acting as the oversighting authority in a given country. It has happened in Zimbabwe. Cyril Ramaphosa had half of his team quitting and walking away. It has happened in Uganda, where you have the Besige's people actually left him. Some of them went and said, we are going to be on our own as UPC and everything. The truth is, anytime the opposition has split up, the opposition never wins power.
Prof, how honest a peace broker is Raila Odinga in this affair, to the extent that, I mean, this is a man who's pretty much well known to run his party with an iron fist. If he did not want Moses Wetangula ousted, I mean, these legislators would toe the line.
I think Raila Odinga is a seasoned politician, and we want to see him in the context of people looking for power and consolidating their political space. He knows how to do it. Whether he's sincere or not, that is a moral question you are raising, and we have always talked on this show. Politics is not about morality, it's about embedded interest. It can be ruthless. So what Raila Odinga is doing serves his interests. I don't think it's a question of sincerity is relevant. It's a question of, it doesn't have to be sincere. I think he has reached a point where he thinks...
So this whole song and dance that he tried to call the senators...
What is that?
You don't believe all that?
No, that is trash. Let me tell you something. What has happened with the Moses Wetangula, my brother, is this. There was an operation which took place without local anesthesia. But and then they realized the patient also jumped up and started boxing the doctors. Now, from today's meeting, the local anesthesia is being applied. They are going to have a meal in the retreat, which Moses Kajwanga will probably attend, and slowly do an operation that Moses Wetangula cannot wake up and continue claiming he is a NASA principal.
Moses, all along.
No, let me finish. Actually, that's where they get. You have heard his language. And my brother Onyonga is saying that NASA can die. The question of whether NASA can die doesn't arise. It's dead. So what has been happening, in my opinion, this was a very good opportunity for Moses Wetangula to reinvent himself, to re-engineer himself. He shouldn't stick in there. What he should ask himself is, what opportunities does this provide for me? What have I not done right? One of the things that probably will haunt him is the fact that the senators who have ousted Moses Wetangula have been fiercely loyal to Raila Odinga. So their loyalty to Moses Wetangula was delegated loyalty. And he must now start asking, why have I been depending on delegated loyalty? He must now start working on his political space, expand it, and you can see Moses Kajwanga is nodding. That is the problem.
Well, not in agreement.
Not in agreement.
Yes,
not necessarily.
Not maybe necessarily in agreement, but I'm pointing out at a point that if I were Moses Wetangula, I would not wait for the retreat. This retreat will give rise to nothing. I would simply wake up and say, my brother James Aguri Orengo, you needed this job, they have given you. I have been using delegated loyalty from your boss, and now that loyalty has been withdrawn.
Is it just time they walk out?
No,
he's been humiliated.
No, we are not talking about. We are not talking.
Pretty much cannibalized.
Where is the humiliation?
We are not talking about walking out.
You saw the man fight for his position on the floor of the House.
Maybe there's no humiliation. He cannot. If the first things first, the first thing is to hand over. You see, what happened today is extra legislative. It is not. It's Parliament which has done it. Raila Odinga is a stranger.
Legislators
in fact, Raila Odinga is a stranger in Parliament. Musalia Mudavadi is a stranger in Parliament. Even Kalonzo is a stranger. They are not members of Parliament. This thing was done in Parliament. So if you are going to change the position of Aguri Orengo, you'll have to again move a vote of no confidence in Aguri Orengo and invite Parliament to think about it. This is what the point is.
I think you need to give me more time, because I'm an insider, I'm a senator, I've been involved.
If I'm saying something wrong,
and I'll need to correct such things. Number one, we hold Moses Wetangula in high esteem. He was our minority leader for 5 years. going into 6 years. Moses Wetangula was minority leader doing a job that did not have a job description, a job that had never been done by anybody in this republic. He did it for 5 years. I was in the last parliament. I was directly loyal to Moses Wetangula. He is a man who ushered me into parliament on my day one in parliament.
So
there is that direct loyalty.
Yes.
That is number one. So it's not about Moses Wetangula as a person. He still remains a principal. He is not a minority leader. And I will give you an example.
He's not good enough to lead you now.
Let me tell you, Okongo Omogeni, senior counsel, former chair of the Law Society of Kenya, Mutula Kilonzo Jr., the whip in the Senate. When Okongo Omogeni comes into the Senate, he submits to Mutula Kilonzo. But when they get out, Okongo Omogeni is a senior. The second thing we need to debunk is that Raila Odinga was involved in this. I was involved in all the meetings, and Raila Odinga at every turn attempted to talk to us. And Raila Odinga's position is this, that he is a leader of NASA, and he wants to have a conversation with Uhuru Kenyatta as a leader of NASA, and not as a leader of ODM or as a leader of Luoland.
But let me ask you this,
but more fundamentally,
on what you've just said.
Yes.
When did NASA legislators, when did ODM legislators get so independent? These are the same legislators who, at the behest of Raila Odinga, refused to go to parliament just after the election, refused to take part in key...
That's my point. That's my point.
We need to, let me just address that. We need to celebrate what we are seeing in Kenya today. Look at the Senate with 60-odd members. Look at the minority side with 27 members. You have 3 senior councils in parliament. All of them sit in the Senate. Within the Senate, you've got about 3 professors. You've got people with a distinguished career and track record
in public service. And they decided to lynch Wetangula.
And these people let me finalize. Anne will give you the opportunity. These are adults in the room. A decision where Professor Ongeri, a decision where Senator Amos Wako, Attorney General Emeritus. This is a strengthening of institutions that we should be looking forward to, and not this habit we've been treated to, where people are called to State House and they are told the chairman of this committee shall be so and so. This is a good thing for the Orange House.
Professor,
1 minute rejoinder.
I can't believe what my brother is talking about.
He's saying that Wetangula's fate is sealed. That's
exactly. That is what he's saying. And number 2,
that's the position.
Yes, that's the position.
Exactly. And number 2, Anne, it is foolhardy for us to think. 2003, what happened? We went for elections. Who was not in the NASA team? If you remember very well, Kalonzo was kicked out in Mombasa. 2007. All right? What happened? At that particular moment, Musalia was kicked out. 2013, I mean, right now, where are we? 2018. Wetangula is being kicked out. We never seem to learn from our past mistakes in the opposition. What we in Fort Kenya, let me talk about being a member of Fort Kenya. What we are saying is this: we are better off staying together as NASA and having negotiations with President Uhuru Kenyatta, with the People's President, Honorable Raila Odinga, negotiating with whatever he wants to negotiate, but we come up as a team. You negotiate from a stronger position than if you dismember NASA right now and ask everybody to go their own and then go and negotiate on your own.
But Richard, that ship has already sailed. The handshake already happened.
That is true.
Your principle has already been kicked
out. But the assumption that we made was that even when the handshake took place, and even when Honorable Raila Odinga negotiated, sat and agreed with Uhuru that they're going to negotiate for ABCD, our argument is the argument has been that there must have been some good faith with his colleagues.
And now, having listened to Moses,
I'm just wondering, and I'm saying, here we are repeating exactly the same thing, and we are assuming, and here, let me make a point, we are assuming that whatever the president negotiates with the Prime Minister, Honorable Raila Odinga, then it is a guarantee that the presidency is already taken, and most probably Honorable Raila will take.
No.
What we are saying is this: you're better off negotiating with the full team for you to actually seek the presidency of this country than splintering your group, which actually brought you to the point where you are, that you actually received the
Honorable Nyonga,
yes.
I just need to point out 2 quick things.
Yes.
One, you talk as if NASA must continue surviving. It should never die.
Yes.
You see what? Your interests have switched. They have changed. Raila Odinga probably has different interests. First of all, you must know two things. Raila Odinga discussed with the president something and then came out and said, this is what we discussed.
Yes.
Do you know whether we know everything they have told us is true? We don't know. So they might have discussed other things. So
in fact, there could be nothing.
Yes. There could be nothing. No, but there could be something.
But there could be everything.
There could be everything.
Yeah, so we don't know.
So because we don't know much of that story, only what was given, maybe conservatively, we can't for certain say this is enough that they discussed.
Yes.
So, but looking at the handshake, these guys found a common ground for their interests.
Yes.
And when you find common grounds for your interests, you must act like a fox, and that's what Raila Odinga is doing. Today, I saw the really Raila Odinga, a fox. He's inviting people for a meeting in some retreat when he knows that the fate of Wetangula is already done. Of course, he might not be the architect of this, but he knows it's done. But you cannot spend time blaming Raila Odinga for this.
But what
you do, Anne, you don't spend time blaming Raila Odinga. Every political problem presents opportunities. This is what we're saying. That instead of Wetangula, Musalia and the company saying, this is what happened in 2002 and 2007, you might say Raila learned a lesson or didn't learn a lesson. But what did Wetangula, Kalonzo and Musalia learn from that? If they have not learned, you can't blame one side. You are being naive by not...
No, the question I'm asking is this: what has both sides learned?
Yes,
apparently nothing.
The starting point of this discussion is faulty, because you're starting from the perspective that Wetangula has been kicked out. Wetangula has only been pushed aside from the minority leader's position. Let me finish, then you can analyze. Wetangula is still a principal within NASA, and NASA has gone through worse storms. On 30th of January, NASA ought to have died. It didn't die. We came out and said we are still NASA.
Did it?
On
9th of March.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so you are saying it died before Wetangula?
Yes, you have just said. What I'm saying,
the principles are alive, but the NASA is dead.
You are just saying
from
that
the narrative that is coming from ODM, actually NASA died. And what we are saying is, we believe in the coalition. We believe in the strengths of unity. We believe that after the cantankerous, noisy, and legitimate issues which we've been raising with Uhuru, and now it has come a point whereby the Prime Minister has actually come up and said we can have a way forward. After we have agreed that, yes, let's calm the temperatures down, let's agree on how the country is going to move forward, then all of a sudden the guns are now facing who? One of the coalition partners.
Let me ask you this, Prof.
What have you learned from the history?
Let me ask you this. Last week it was Moses Wetangula. Next week will it be somebody else?
Actually, there are many casualties. You know, even it could be Kalonzo.
Who should not? Yeah, okay.
It could also be Musalia.
You think more is coming?
More is coming because I told you one thing. What President Uhuru Kenyatta discussed with Raila Odinga, we don't know. There were the two of them in one room. Even the newsmen were not allowed in. So they talked certain things and then agreed that let's go and tell them we have talked this. What they did not talk is what should worry us. What they did not divulge is what should worry us.
Yes.
So we shall start learning what they discussed by the casualties that will follow. And one of them is Moses Wetangula. He doesn't fit the interests of these two. and they know it. So for now, the best thing, and we cannot repeat this enough, you are a member of Ford Kenya.
Yes.
Go and advise your principal that the option for NASA is a dead one. They should start re-engineering themselves, correct the mistakes they used to make in the past, register voters in their turf, and have a realistic chance to do fresh alliances with other people. But for now, Moses Wetangula should not go to the retreat. Actually, there should be no retreat.
and we will retreat on that note, Prof. We're absolutely out of time. Thank you, gentlemen, for your views. 2022 realignments clearly happening.
Thank you, Wetangula is still in.
And then you're happy. Good night. Thanks for watching, Prof.